So this will be an update video about the defamation complaints and different ins and outs about that. And for those of you who are following everything, of course, you know that, or you may know, that Luna got defamation complaint letters. I got 20 of them. I don't know how many she got. Jake got 3. Vegan Gains got 1. I know Mortadella got them. I don't know how many. So they're doing this with everybody's content. And the timing and the place where they don't want the content to be seen is obvious. We have Ilias's verdict coming up on Wednesday. And we have media that will probably be covering some of that. And we have the potential press release releasing their names. So what would people do that were interested in this case? Not just the public in the Netherlands, but also people in media. They would go online looking for what they can find about them. And any video, like look at Mortadella's video, I used it in my cybercrime complaint form. It's a very comprehensive video outlining everything. And a lot of the short videos that I've done and that other people have done and live streams that people have done where they cover everything. And so for somebody to sit down and watch like a 20-minute video and kind of know the lowdown on these people and what they're about and what's gone on, they don't want that. So that's why they are right now doing this push to get the content unavailable. So we already looked at that entire letter, but I just want to mention how that letter ties in to the defamation complaints against the content creators. So they started this with Luna. They started with trying to say that she was defaming them. They got a lawyer and got him to write a letter to her that holds no legal weight. Cease and desist letters hold no legal weight. The only purpose of a cease and desist letter is, first, it's to, put a bug in the ear of the person you're speaking to that you might sue them. And that's if you have a legit complaint. You're showing them what you're citing as a problem, what you want them to do. You can ask for restitution in a cease and desist. You have to specify, which they did not do, exactly how much money you've lost and exactly how it ties into what they did to you, which they did not do in that letter. You also are supposed to cite in a cease and desist what things they said, which they did do that part, all the things she said, they were quoting all of that, but they didn't cite why it's not true. So they didn't even have a complete cease and desist. The attorney didn't even have the correct information probably on where they live. So they already committed fraud, that's a crime, in telling a lawyer they live in Germany and lying to him. So that was really stupid, and the cease and desist has no weight. It's to show the court that you tried to mitigate damages yourself before you have to take someone to court. That's the only punch that a cease and desist has, is it helps your case when you do go to court. But that's if you have a case, and they don't. Use one of these as an example of what I did. They first have a form you fill out, and of course all of those were denied, and they're being denied for other people. So there isn't even, what's interesting about this is next to your videos, if there's a restriction like that, it'll usually show up, and then you hover over that and click on it, and there'll be an appeal option. You click on appeal, and then you fill out the appeal form. But these restrictions are just in the Netherlands, so there's nothing like that. Next to restrictions, it says none next to the video, even though there's a little box on the side that'll tell you that you have a restriction on videos in that country, so it's kind of weird. So what I did was you can have an other legal issues form, so I did that, and I told them the subject was appealing against that restriction, and I cited the video. And so what I did, so it wouldn't be so ridiculous, is that I took the information and I put it into each one, just cut and paste it, and then the only different information for each one would be about the particular video. So like here, I'm citing the video, and then I go into specifics like you're supposed to do, just like on that cease and desist that they didn't do, of why this is not defamation. And like on some of the videos, I specifically specifically cited other videos to show them what he said and did, like the one where I talk about his incest stuff. I point to his incest videos. So with this one, I just said, it's a non-satirical video based on fact. The one wanted and may reside in Kazakhstan. There was nothing afactual in the video. It wasn't even comedic in nature. And then the warrant out of Offenburg, which I'm going to have in this, by the way. I'll show you in a minute. But I made the video to raise awareness of their being on the warrant and possibly still being in Kazakhstan, which she showed, by the way, in her fake video about the not being a getaway driver and her passport stamps, which other people who are used to traveling in Europe cited don't prove anything, but they were indeed in Kazakhstan for certain periods of time. So even that was factual, and I didn't know whether it was or not. It's just may reside in Kazakhstan. There was nothing wrong with this video. So, and then I tell them some things like that they just said on August the 28th they will arrest them in the Netherlands. Said that. So, yeah. So, and then I tell them, now here's what I put in all of them, cut and paste in all of them. Why I don't meet the standards and the accusations are false. Here's the requirements for defamation. And you got to understand, like, with certain laws, you don't have to have all the elements, just one sometimes, But with defamation, you have to have all of them. And this is the criminal code that it's covered under in the Netherlands, 2621 and 262. 4 elements, all have to be there. Has to be a false statement. And no knowingly false statements have been made about either of them, I said. Has to be communicated to a third party. That's a given. If you're ever making a video or any content and that part is covered, you are communicating to third parties. Has to provably harm the reputation or livelihood of the person. Now note something. Even if what we post does harm their reputation or livelihood, it has to be false and harming it. So, these aren't false statements, but they haven't proven that we or I particularly harmed them in any way financially. Like, at what point did their content start to suck? At what point did people start finding out from a million different places that these are wanted fugitives and that they don't want to support them? At what point did they watch the content and think the guy sounds crazy and they don't want to support him? So they have to prove that, they were just rolling and doing well, and then my content came out there and boy howdy whoa, they just started having a tank in funding. They haven't done that. So it has to provably harm the reputation of the livelihood of the person. And they haven't made that connection, I'm stating, and so on. And then I go into how my content is covered under the law. It can be comedic content, it's not defamation. Factual content is not defamation. Opinion pieces and speculation are not defamation. And then the 4th element is it has to either have the intent to harm or be done carelessly and with negligence. And then I put that I always go over why I make claims, which ones are speculative or outright provable fact. So it's okay not to like people, by the way. That's not the same as intent to harm. Intent to harm would be like Goatis claiming that he's going to file a lawsuit against a kidnapper and molester when he's never done that, and he's had years. He's never reported anybody for those kinds of crimes, but he's tying the likeness, showing her picture and saying her name over and over to those false claims. That's actual defamation. That's actual slander. And when you write things as titles of your video and make it clear who you're talking about, that's libel. And when you add libel and slander together, it's usually defamation, with a lie, by the way, with intent to harm. And same thing with doxing. So I mentioned things about all 20 videos. I pasted this into all of them so I wouldn't have to write it over and over, of course. And this is about the truthful statements being backed up with evidence versus speculative and opinion pieces. And then I said I'll attach evidence. So I attached the same evidence, which was 45 different things, to every single one of these, including the cybercrime complaint form, which I do want to show you. I've showed you in the past that when I was asking people if I was showing people that if they were, harmed financially by him or feel that they were, they should consult an actual attorney, and that this is the form for that, and that here's the different things you can do. And go check it out if you want to. And I did it, and I showed what I did, sort of, but I'll show that in a little bit more detail here. So here I'm explaining to them that he used to be Sverige, that a lot of these things are true. Like, for instance, here's his school stabbing, a story about how that's the same guy. He's lied about that off and on for years. Dutch coverage of the Abdullah trial. And I show how he is talking about Goatis and Marina as the people hiring him to do this. That's through identifying factors cited multiple times. Explain that. And then I tell them what's in the cybercrime complaint form, all the links to all his different criminality. And I'll show you some of that in a minute. So the first cybercrime complaint form that I filled out was back June the 24th, I believe. And let's look here. The main thing I want to show you here is the law that sets precedent about what their obligation is, but let's first look at this. So this was namely due to the video that he had just uploaded, which that really got me motivated to want to do more, where he's calling her a kidnapper and a child molester, which is actual slander and libel because of the title of the video, which people were saying, well, her name's not on it, so it's not libel, but it is when you show her picture and you give identifying characteristics of the person throughout the video, like my ex-girlfriend who I had a child with, so we know who he's talking about. When you title a video that and you talk about the person that way, it's libel. So it's both slander and libel. And when you combine both and add other factors, it's defamation, because it's untruthful information, it's relayed to a bunch of third parties, it's defamation. Okay, so I start out talking about that this is a formal complaint about multiple cybercrime incidents, because I relay in this letter everything he's done, basically, as best I can, and let them know how urgent this is, because you have two people in hiding, a woman and child, and this person is a wanted fugitive, and they're on your platform doing something that they're alleged to have already done. The nature of the incidents, I talk about his online scams. One is while he is wanted for an attempted murder, and extortion and doxing also are things I bring up because he did that with Catherine and Luna both. The extortion with Catherine, where he directed people from YouTube over to Telegram to pay true natural respect, quote-unquote, to him by way of doing something to Caroline, paying her a whole family that he doxed on Telegram, having a bloody good time with them, paying them a visit, that stuff, and doxing of both of them that he did vindictively. Doxing is when you release information that people don't want to have released about themselves, personal information, vindictively, with malice. And it's not a matter of public concern that we know their names, but you tell us their names. That's doxing. And I'll say that for a reason that I'll bring up later. So May 30th is when he did that kidnapping and child molester video, which also he's holding a child on his lap while he's making it, which adds another element of interest here, because they're wanted fugitives, and that child's well-being needs to be checked on, especially given some of his other behavior online, which we'll bring up. Details of the incident. So I talk about how his channel that was Feria had been banned, Goatis remains, and I state the video I'm referring to, that it's libel and all of that I've brought up already. And I talk about the woman who's the subject of the video and how it's she and her son who are in hiding due to this person. I cite some comprehensive videos they can look at. Mortadella's excellent video, probably one of the ones they went after, and several other things. And then I talk about the victim's channel and all the things she's talked about here that he's done, including the immigrant mugging scam, where she was right there for that one, and she couldn't leave him very easily. He'd already almost murdered her. And so and you can see in that video, make your deductive reasoning about what you think is going on there. And then I talk about other truths she tells on her channel about what's gone on. I talk about the attempt to kill her done by Ilias, and allegedly Goatis paid Ilias to do this attack. And we now know from the trial transcript, the portion of it that we have, that the public prosecutor in the Netherlands, they do believe that he was paid. They have evidence to that effect. So, and these are those videos of Luna's. And then I'm reiterating that he's on your platform once again attempting to raise money via donations to quote-unquote hire a lawyer for several lawsuits against his acid attack victim for kidnapping and molesting, which there's no lawsuits for that going on whatsoever. Never have been. I talked about his smear campaigns. I showed them his Rumble videos because I'm talking about his other criminality. Is incest natural? Never forgive anyone? Serial killers? Yada yada. Now, the child rape advocacy on the April 2023 live stream on YouTube, on his Goatis channel, where he speaks in code, I start talking about how he has a history of doing that, just like he did with Catherine, to pay natural respect to Caroline. Go to Norway was code for killing Luna. Legal citations about why they have an obligation to act. Now, here's the most important thing. So this shows them why they have an obligation to do something. To satisfy the mens rea, an online intermediary would need knowledge, as in awareness, that its policy or practice facilitated the principal perpetrator in executing the crime. Now, when it comes to the first crime, they wouldn't have an obligation to have known what was going on, but they do now, and they do now if someone makes them aware. And I've made them aware several times. So if real human beings are looking at these letters and ignoring them, they do have liability. And here's the case law. So when you have cases you're citing, and there are judgments to this effect, that sets precedent, and we have several of them. A social media company would not even need to know the precise crime intended by the principal perpetrator, as long as it's aware that one of a number of crimes will probably be committed and one is committed. Well, in this case, one is committed, and you're darn tootin' that if you're lying about what you're hiring, what you want the money for, he's not hiring a kidnapping lawyer. There are no kidnapping charges. So obviously something nefarious is going to go on with that money. And that's from the international tribunals, because international law applies here. And that's why I bring up the Rome statute, because, they could say, well, we're in the United States. This proves that they have liability to handle things in an international situation. So the Rome statute of the International Criminal Court, ICC, is an outlier in this respect by requiring a mens rea of purpose for aiding and abetting liability. Platform-enabled crimes. This is from a legal journal, where they have another set of law that establishes some precedent about how you handle international crimes related to using social media platforms. Then I bring up the TCO regulations of Europe. Terrorist content online is what that stands for. Once a social media company has been made aware of terroristic activity, and if they click on that, they'll know, and I've laid it out other places, but they have within 1 hour an obligation to shut it down. And Europe is doing that to combat terrorist content online, and they have an international obligation to pay attention to those laws. So I kindly requested that they conduct a thorough investigation, and then I gave them my contact info and reiterated that there's a small child involved, and we are talking about people they want to murder. And then we had lots of back and forth on that. So the last time I reached out to YouTube would be June 28th. After sending the first one, they right away responded asking for a court order. And because I had filled it out as defamation, and, part of the learning curve, even if you know stuff about law, I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't know a lot of stuff about, until looking into it, how this platform works and how they work as a private company. But the defamation form, if you're a third party, they don't really even pay attention to it, and they don't pay attention to other things you tell them when you fill that out. And I'm not even sure a human eye was looking at that, because I think they have the bots go through and then see if something comes from an attorney or the party themselves, and then they maybe have a human look at it. Not sure. But they robotically asked me for a court order, and then I responded with, this is about more than defamation, but here is a court document. Here's a warrant for their arrest, and please look at the rest. And then you just get that robotic response again about the court order for defamation. So learning that they don't care about that, I then moved on to filling out the other legal complaints form, and I haven't gotten any responses on that whatsoever. So not sure why, but that is unfortunate. But then what I did was go around them, and you can use that same body of work, and I went to the regulatory entities in Europe that can do something about them by way of law, which they would have to look at with a human eye. So the TCO and Article 12, terrorist content, and then Article 12 over child abuse content in the Netherlands particularly. I wrote to the Netherlands, Germany, Latvia, and I think 1 or 2 other countries. And so when you put the ball in their court, that's you kind of done all that you can do, especially as a third party. However, I think as time goes on, first of all, just in doing that, just little old me, they've been given liability. And that can, if more and more people point that out to them, they might get worried about it. Unfortunately, all corporations care about, and a lot of times all the government cares about, is, do we have liability for something? Do we have to act? And that's what gets eyes on something. And you got to realize, unfortunately, also that, this is a long haul kind of thing a lot of times. Not to bring up something that's too terribly sad, but you look at wrongful conviction cases, there are people in jail, and it's usually 2 decades before they get out. And that's even with maybe at the 10-year mark, they have the evidence they need, some new piece of evidence tested, and it proves their innocence. They still have another 10 years. working their way through the system sometimes, and that's outrageous. I'm not saying that that's right, but that's how it is. So with this, we don't want it to take that long, but you just have to realize that just because you can't work like a dog on something for a little while and be like, well, they didn't listen, I'm done with this, this is annoying. You can't really think of it that way. So we've done a lot of stuff. We can build on that, and you can hang back for a while. You can't continuously do that kind of stuff all the time, but there's going to be more and more come out, and then you can take that body of work and build on it and send it again, and over time that if you keep pushing on a door, it's going to open. So something will happen, and it's going to happen a lot sooner than that. They can't hide forever, so don't be too despondent about it. And regarding what I did or didn't do on defamation, I'll put something in the description box about that so that this video isn't too much longer. But also just want to mention on what they won't do here, though. Defamation complaints, like what they're doing with Mortadella here, this isn't the same as copyright strikes, so very, very unlikely for them to strike the video, because that would really probably take a court order to really prove up that there was any defamation, and even to remove the video. So they're just playing it safe, since they probably got a letter from that attorney in restricting that content, but they're not doing anything beyond that, and I don't think anybody has to worry about them doing so. And I did part of this video yesterday, so today obviously Ilias was sentenced, and now it's on other sites, so I'll put that there. He got the 12 years, less the time served, but that's outrageously low. And I'm available to help Luna if ever she wants to move on doing different things, because their court system's outrageous. There's a judicial review process, and there's also a mistrial process. There's multiple reasons why both apply here. But and if she has a pro deo attorney, there's some issues with that too. But that would be a whole nother topic. So yeah, just everybody, keep vigilant with caring about it. I hope you will. To the point where it's reasonable. Obviously, people can't, have Goatis in their head 24/7 and do nothing but this, but like I had that time in the summer to really work on it, and I'm sure everybody can have time here and there to do things as they see fit, and just keep it in your heart that you care about it, and I think something will happen, and I think sooner than later.